Guys, welcome back to Ironside Ranch. So we've got some really interesting things to talk about today. So I'm going to do a couple videos here back to back. But one of the things that I really wanted to discuss with you was this article from Zero Hedge, and I've got it pulled up here. And the article, I'll post a link to it down in the description below. But this is talking about Mark Zuckerberg. And Mark Zuckerberg, those of you that have been living in a cave, Mark Zuckerberg is the owner and CEO of Facebook, founder and CEO of Facebook. One of the largest net worth billionaires in the world, and he's talking to his group of people, and his not necessarily his entire company, but people that are directly reporting to him, noting that Facebook has reduced its target for hiring engineers in 2022 to around 6,000 to 7,000, down from an initial plan to hire of about 10,000 new engineers. Right, so a pretty substantial difference in exactly what they're talking about for new hires. But he also confirmed that layoffs are also coming, saying the company was turning up the heat on performance management to weed out staffers unable to meet more aggressive goals. So basically what he's saying is that from a business standpoint, he's coming in there to trim the fat, right? So he's going to take the people that he finds less desirable, the people that maybe have lower performance reviews, maybe just average or slightly below average, and they're going to get the boot and they're going to get sent out. Now, presumably what he's talking about is he's mostly talking about management level people, right? So that lower to mid-level management people, right? Because as a general rule, companies try to operate very efficiently on the lowest level. So the amount of programmers and technicians that they have, they're going to have to stay pretty much there and to keep those numbers and to keep their production where it's at. So where they're going to try to combine things is they're going to say, okay, so this person here is over 5 direct reports and this person here is over 3 direct reports. Let's get rid of the weaker of the 2 of them, combine it together, and this now person will have 8 direct reports. They'll take over that role, and even maybe if they're a good company, they'll give him a small salary benefit, a slight bonus for the added stress. But in this market, maybe not. But so it's that lower level, mid to mid level kind of white collar management that's going to take the biggest hit. This is exactly what we're seeing with Tesla as well. Also what we saw with Better.com and who they're laying off. Now, there are going to be lower level employees that are laid off. There's also going to be higher level employees that are laid off. But as a general rule, I think the vast majority of them are going to fall in that kind of gut shot, sucking chest wound cavity there, where you tend to get a little bit of fluff in the management level. Now, here's what's really interesting about this. Why is Zuckerberg laying him off? And that's what really doesn't make a lot of sense. So when you look at it, Tesla laid off because, so presumably Tesla's sales are down, their cost to build are up, so they're making less per vehicle, and they're making less vehicles. Makes sense to do layoffs in that sense. Zuckerberg, the thing to remember is whenever you can't identify what the product is, you are the product, right? So we are the product for Zuckerberg. It doesn't cost him anything to have us there. And because we don't pay for Facebook, his viewership, his usership is not drastically down. It's kind of a little bit down because of the wokeness that they try to do and people getting tired of that. But as a general rule, their viewership and their usership is not down substantially. The ad revenue, it'd be really interesting to see what the numbers are on this because, I think for good companies like ours, we're amping up our ad revenue right now, right? So we're spending more in advertising than we normally spend, trying to make sure that we have flows of business coming in during the times that we see coming. So I think a lot of businesses would do that, but a lot of businesses are pulling off being more conservative, saying, you know what, we'll just ride this wave out, and we're just going to cut costs and rely on what's coming in. Now, that's not a bad idea necessarily if you're an essential service, if you're something like an HVAC technician or something like that, because you're always going to have some coming in. But when you're a less than essential service, if you're let's just say you run a water park or, I don't know, even something as simple as house cleaning, because house cleaning is something that's the first thing that's going to get cut from people's personal budgets. And so those things that are slightly less essential functions of our economy, those are going to be the ones that are going to take the biggest hit here, and those will be the ones that probably need to make sure that they're sending out that advertising because they really need to be spending this time getting more customers in. So there's some people that would be ramping up advertising, and there's certain companies that will be lowering their advertising. So this is what I think is really interesting about this, is that Zuckerberg really, his costs have not gone up arguably, because he doesn't have, I'm sure he's got company vehicles, but as to transport equipment and whatever from different platforms and servers to different areas and properties that they own. But as a general rule, diesel fuel, engine oil, stuff like that is not a high dollar cost item for a company like Facebook. It just doesn't make sense. Their money is going to be in the infrastructure of their mainframes and their computers, and so and their technology. And so this is very weird that he has decided to do these layoffs, simply because I think what he's trying to do is, I think he's trying to get his company at a stronger standpoint, to where he can trim that fat, he can keep the earnings high for the company, and try to make Facebook look good for the company. I'm assuming they've had a little bit of a drop in ad revenue, but again, I wouldn't suspect that to be very much, because I think a lot of businesses are increasing their ad revenue. At least if they're smart, they should be right now. So it's a very interesting play for Zuckerberg, and I'm curious to see how this is going to work out going forward, and what this is going to do for the Facebook stock prices over the course of the next 12 months or so. But it's another indicator, along with Musk doing the layoffs. Mass layoffs are coming. Whether I agree with the fact that Zuckerberg needs to do this or not, it's not really the point. And whether we think that it needs to be done, that doesn't matter. What matters right now is that these big CEOs now are really starting to lay off, and it's going to start trickling down from there. Because as these people get laid off, that's less money going into the economy, because they're saving every penny they have, rather than trying to spend and spend at the local mom and pop shops. They may not have any options, even though they want to buy local and buy American or whatever. They may not have a lot of options, but to just go to Walmart and get some Chinese piece of crap, and just simply because they don't have the money. And I think that or because they're scared that they're not going to have the money going forward, because they haven't landed that next job yet. So this is kind of an indicator too of having a massive stagflation coming, where we have a stagnant economy with with a high unemployment rate. And again, it's like, all the indicators of the Great Depression, right? The 1920s. Now we're talking about mass layoffs from some of our largest companies. It's going to be interesting to see what percentage of Facebook gets laid off. That'll be a very big indicator. And over the course of, the next 12 months, not in the first round of layoffs, but after the fifth round or third round of layoffs. So stay with us, guys. We'll have more information as the data comes out on this, and as we know kind of what's going on with it. But right now, again, take this as an indicator that things are going to continue to get worse with the layoffs, and that the bigger companies tend to be kind of ahead of the curve on this stuff. So even though bigger companies don't always respond well as smaller companies, when they have to lay off, then the smaller and mid-level companies will trail right afterwards. So thanks again for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure and like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Like the video. Jump over on Facebook. Amanda Lynn likes to post up over there, so make sure you like to that as well. And we will see y'all tomorrow morning.